Hello, Randy Hatcher, President of MAU Workforce Solutions, located here in Augusta, Georgia. I'm here today with you to talk about the costly mistakes tied to making a bad hire. Don't you have one of those stories? Someone that your company hired and you look back and you say, how did we ever do that? Well, anyway, we all make mistakes, but we certainly all agree that there's a huge cost to making that type of mistake. Estimates are 5 times the annual salary that you would have paid somebody is the potential damage it could have to your company. So $50,000, could it cost your company $250,000? Is that possible? Or could it even cost them $500,000? So anyway, what we're going to talk about today is a couple of tips how maybe your company could do better. I guess the first thing I would say is employers, we have to take responsibility, because it is our job to hire the right person. We know our company, we know what the job is. Someone who's interviewing, they know very little. So I think first of all, just taking responsibility to say, if someone's going to do something about this, I have to do it. So one of those things that I think we all should have is a good process. At our company here, we call it a check-off process of all the things that happen in the interview process, the screening process, the onboarding process, to make sure we're following the guidelines and saying, all right, did we do this? Did we do this? Did we do this? So first of all, make sure you have a written process. And then secondly, make sure you have a gatekeeper. Who in your company, when someone's being hired and they're in this department and somebody else is being hired in this department in this city, who's in charge of making sure all those little process checkoffs are done? So is that your HR department? Is that your office manager? All I'm saying is that's very critical for us, not just to have the process, but have a gatekeeper. Next, in the area of screening, there's due diligence that's so important. You know, I wish it wasn't so, but one of the things that we see in increasing measure in our company is the candidates that we attempt to represent are falsifying their resumes. And you would like to think that didn't happen, but folks, it does. And so what are you doing as a company to make sure when somebody puts something on a resume that is true? So all I would say in this area, your due diligence will be greatly rewarded. So first of all, a lot of companies give resumes, but they don't ask for an application. So if you're just taking a resume and you're not basically giving them a job application, give them both, because you can ask specific things on that application that they won't volunteer on the resume. So one of the first things you need to make sure is that their employment dates match up. And when you look at their application and you're asking this information, make sure there are no gaps in between that. And by gaps, you're asking months and years, not just years. So if you see a gap of 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, you know that you can ask about that. And when you're doing your references, you're asking the employers that you're calling to verify those exact months and years, not just a year, because sometimes people have been terminated, they don't have a reason for it, but they don't tell you they were unemployed for 6 months. So next, in the area of references, at least check 2 personal references and 2 business references. In business, you might check more than that, but a lot of times people neglect to check the personal references, so at least do that. The other area is in verifying salary and bonus. So you ask someone, what have you been earning? And they say, I've been making $75,000, but the reality is they were making $45,000, and last year the company gave a huge bonus and they made another $30,000. So you're trying to come up with an offer for them and you're thinking you have to hit 75, when really they're used to living on 45, they get lucky for a year. So anyway, I just say that, make sure you understand how they earn their compensation. The other thing in job duties, be sure you get a clear explanation of job duties, and on your references you're checking that. And then education. Gosh, you would think that people would not be naive enough to think that you wouldn't check this. But I do find a lot of companies don't check education. Somebody says they went to a certain college, pick up the phone and verify that. Have someone in your company responsible for doing what we call an education check. And then lastly, one of the most important things to make sure you get every time from each employer is the reason for leaving. And if somebody puts something nebulous, make sure you get to the bottom and figure out why did they really leave this job. And then when you conduct the reference check, you're verifying why they left the company. So I'll give you 2 questions and then we'll sign off for the day. two questions you can ask a candidate that maybe help you choose the right person. First of all, ask them, what in your last job did you excel in? And then ask them, what in your last job could you have improved in? And then when you check the reference, ask that reference the same two questions and see if there's alignment there. Well, anyway, I hope this has been helpful to you. It wasn't intended to be an exhaustive list of what you need to do to make sure you're hiring the right people. But even in what we've talked about today, you can see there are a lot of different processes and steps that have to be done to do this right. And that's where maybe MAU can help you today. So we could be your partner, your trusted partner, to help you in these areas to really not just find the right people, but make sure that you're hiring the correct people and all this due diligence is done. That's what we do for a living. And when we wake up in the morning, we're thinking about how to find the best person for you. We're thinking about how to improve all these hiring processes. So help us do that, and maybe we can help you avoid a costly hiring mistake. Have a good day. Thanks.